They towed my rust bucket truck at dawn. By noon, I owned their homes, their cars, and the HOA president's dignity. The best part? They never saw it coming. If you've ever dealt with unfair rules, nosy neighbors, or power-hungry HOAs, you're not alone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe if you want more Karen and HOA stories. The morning sun glinted off the peeling paint of my 1972 Ford F-150 as Karen from the HOA slapped a bright orange violation sticker on its windshield. "Final warning, Mr. Carter," she sneered, adjusting her designer sunglasses. "This rust bucket has 24 hours to disappear, or we'll have it towed at your expense." I wiped my grease-stained hands on my jeans and smiled. "That truck's been in my family longer than you've been alive, Karen." She rolled her eyes. "It's an eyesore that violates community standards." As she strutted away in her too-tight pencil skirt, I pulled out my phone and made a call. "Mr. Vanderbilt?" my lawyer answered. "Execute Phase 1, I said quietly. The next morning, a fleet of black SUVs rolled into the neighborhood. Karen came running out of her McMansion as uniformed men began posting notices on every door. "What the hell is this?" she shrieked, snatching a notice from her prized rose bush. Her face went pale as she read, "Notice of sale. This property has been acquired by Vanderbilt Holdings, LLC." I stepped out wearing the same grease-stained jeans, but now holding a steaming cup of coffee from the private jet blend my butler had prepared. "Morning, Karen," I said cheerfully. "You were saying something about community standards?" She gaped like a fish out of water as the realization hit her. The poor mechanic she'd been harassing for years wasn't who she thought. That rust bucket in my driveway? A fully restored classic worth $250,000. The ratty clothes I wore? Custom-made Italian denim designed to look worn. You can't do this," Karen stammered. I took a slow sip of coffee. "Already did. Bought every house in this development last night, including yours." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a set of keys. "These are yours, by the way. We'll be needing your Mercedes moved." What was the term you used? "Oh yes, an eyesore." The crowd that had gathered erupted in murmurs. Old Mrs. Henderson from down the street, who Karen had fined $200 for having the wrong color curtains, started clapping. Teenager Jake, who got cited for skateboarding, pumped his fist in the air. Karen's face turned an impressive shade of purple. "I'll fight this in court," she screeched. I smiled and pulled out my phone. "You might want to see this first." The screen showed security footage of Karen stealing HOA funds. And this, another video of her having an affair with the pool boy. Oh, and this one's my favorite. Footage of her keying a neighbor's car that parked too close to hers. The crowd gasped. Karen looked like she might pass out. I leaned in close. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to resign from the HOA today. You're going to return every penny you stole. And you're going to apologize to every neighbor you've harassed." I paused. "Or all this goes viral." As Karen collapsed onto her perfectly manicured lawn, I turned to the gathered neighbors. "New rules effective immediately. No more fines for trivial nonsense. Kids can play outside. You can paint your houses whatever color you want." The cheers could probably be heard 3 neighborhoods over. I walked back to my eyesore truck and patted its hood affectionately. Some people only understand power when it's staring them in the face. And nothing says power like a billionaire who remembers what it's like to be treated like dirt. Karen's perfectly manicured nails dug into her palms as she read the eviction notice for the 3rd time. "You can't kick me out of my own home," she screamed, her voice cracking like cheap HOA pavement. I leaned against my truck, the same one she'd called trash yesterday, and smirked. "Actually, Karen, that's the funny thing about mortgages. When someone buys the bank's debt, they get to make the rules." The crowd of neighbors had tripled since morning. Little Timmy from down the street was selling popcorn. Old Man Jenkins brought his lawn chair. Everyone wanted front row seats to Karen's downfall. Just as Karen opened her mouth to protest, a deafening crash silenced the block. We all turned to see her prized Mercedes being loaded onto a tow truck. "That's illegal," she shrieked, running toward the street in her ridiculous high heels. The tow truck driver didn't even glance up. New HOA rules, ma'am. No luxury vehicles over 5 years old. Your 2018 model is... What was the word? Oh right, an eyesore. The neighborhood erupted in laughter. Mrs. Rodriguez from number 42 actually spit out her coffee. I'd memorized every petty rule Karen had ever enforced, and now I was using them all against her. But the real surprise came when the moving trucks arrived. Not for Karen, for the families she'd spent years tormenting. The Martinez family, who she'd fined for their kids' chalk drawings, got the first keys. This one's yours, I said, pointing to Karen's house. Their daughter Maria's eyes went wide. For real? Karen looked like she might have a stroke. You're giving my house to these. She couldn't even finish the sentence. Careful, Karen, I said, pulling out my phone. Your racism is showing. Wouldn't want that going viral with the other videos, would we? That's when the news vans showed up. Channel 7's reporter shoved a mic in Karen's face. Ms. Whitmore, how does it feel to be evicted by the man whose truck you called trash? Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish. I answered for her. I believe the term is karma. The reporter turned to me. Mr. Vanderbilt, what's next for the neighborhood? I grinned. First, we're building a community pool 3 times bigger than the old one, with a water slide, and no splashing rules. The cheers were deafening. Karen finally found her voice. I'll sue. I'll call the governor. You'll leave, I interrupted, because in about 30 seconds, I'm pressing send on an email to every HOA member with footage of you stealing from the community fund. How much was it again? $87,000. The color drained from her face. The crowd gasped. Even the news crew looked shocked. I counted down loud enough for everyone to hear. 5, 4, 3. Karen didn't wait for one. She turned and ran, her designer heels snapping as she fled down the street. The neighbors erupted in applause. Little Maria Martinez ran up and hugged me. Does this mean we can have a puppy now? She asked. I ruffled her hair. You can have 2. The sound of Karen's screaming could still be heard 2 blocks away as the moving company emptied her house. I stood watching with Maria Martinez, who kept squeezing my hand like she thought this was all a dream. Does this mean we really get to live here? She asked, staring at Karen's big brick house with the fancy porch. I was about to answer when my phone buzzed. It was a text from my lawyer. Check the HOA safe. You'll want to see this. The HOA office was locked, but the key I'd taken from Karen's purse worked perfectly. Inside, everything was neat and organized, just like Karen's fake life. The safe behind her desk opened with a satisfying click. What I found inside made my blood run cold. There were files. Lots of files. Not just financial records, but dossiers on every family in the neighborhood. Photos of kids playing where they shouldn't. Notes about who had marital problems. Even medical records. Karen hadn't just been enforcing rules. She'd been collecting blackmail material on everyone. Maria tugged my sleeve. What's all this stuff? She whispered. I quickly closed the safe. Nothing good, kiddo. Let's go get some ice cream. But as we walked out, I nearly tripped over a black duffel bag hidden under Karen's desk. Inside were stacks of cash, at least $200,000, and a notebook labeled Special Projects. The last entry made my stomach turn. Phase 3 begins Monday. Final push to force out remaining undesirable families. Contact made with developer $5 million bonus when neighborhood is cleared for luxury condos. So that was the real game. Karen wasn't just a petty tyrant. She was working with developers to push everyone out. All those ridiculous fines, the harassment, the constant rules, it was all to make people miserable enough to sell cheap. I called my construction crew immediately. Change of plans. Forget the pool. We're building a monument. The next morning, the entire neighborhood gathered as a crane lowered a 10-foot tall bronze statue right in the middle of the community park. The plaque read, "In honor of Karen Whitmore, whose greed united us all." The statue? A giant middle finger. But the real surprise came at noon, when 12 moving trucks rolled in not to take things away, but to bring things back. All the items Karen had forced people to remove over the years. Mr. Chen's beloved pink flamingos, the Johnsons' treehouse, even old Mrs. O'Reilly's clothesline that Karen called trashy. As people cheered, a black sedan pulled up. Out stepped a man in an expensive suit, the developer Karen had been working with. He looked around at the celebrating crowd, then at the statue, and finally at me. "I think we got off on the wrong foot," he said smoothly. "Perhaps we can still do business?" I smiled and handed him an envelope. Inside was a photo of him and Karen at a hotel, plus bank records showing their illegal deals. "Here's my counteroffer," I said. "You walk away and forget this neighborhood exists. Or this goes to the state attorney general." His face went pale. He left without another word. That night, we had the biggest block party in neighborhood history. Kids played wherever they wanted. Music played as loud as people pleased. And right at midnight, we all watched as the first firework exploded over Karen's old house. Now the Martinez family home. Maria tugged my sleeve again. "This is the best day ever," she whispered. I looked around at the laughing faces, the families finally free to enjoy their homes, and the giant middle finger statue glinting in the moonlight. "No, kiddo," I said. "This is just the beginning." The morning after the block party, I woke up to banging on my door. It was Mr. Chun holding a broken flamingo. "They're back," he panted. "Karen's back with police." I threw on a shirt and ran outside. 3 cop cars were parked around Karen's old house, now the Martinez family home. Karen stood there in a new pantsuit waving court papers. "This eviction was illegal," she screamed. "I'm taking my house back." Maria Martinez was crying on the porch as 2 officers started carrying out her toys. Her mother stood frozen, clutching the house keys I'd given them. I marched straight up to the lead officer. "What's the problem here?" Karen shoved papers in my face. "A judge just issued an emergency stay. The sale was fraudulent." She smirked. "Told you I'd fight back." But something smelled fishy. The judge's order looked photocopied. The case number was smudged, and the officers seemed nervous. That's when I noticed it. One cop was wearing sneakers with his uniform. Another had a tattoo peeking from his collar that read Property Brothers, the name of Karen's brother's shady moving company. These weren't real cops. They were Karen's friends in costume. I whistled loudly. "Hey everyone, check out our new police force. Officer Sneakers here forgot his belt." The neighborhood turned to look. Mrs. Rodriguez gasped. "That's not Officer Jenkins. That's Karen's nephew." The fake cops froze. Karen's face went white. I pulled out my phone. Should I call real police? Or just post this to YouTube now? The imposters bolted to their cars. Karen tried to run too, but the neighbors formed a human wall. Little Maria stepped forward, holding a water balloon. "This is for breaking my dollhouse," she said, and splashed Karen right in her designer blouse. The crowd cheered. Karen sputtered. I handed Maria another balloon. "Want to help me make a citizen's arrest?" But before we could act, a real police car pulled up. Out stepped Chief Reynolds with handcuffs. "Karen Whitmore," he said. "You're under arrest for fraud, impersonating officers, and—" "What's this?" He read from his phone. "Oh yes, embezzling $87,000 from the HOA. Turns out my lawyer had sent the evidence to the DA at midnight." Karen's scream could be heard 3 blocks away as they stuffed her in the squad car. As the real police drove off, I noticed something odd. The Martinez family's moving truck was gone. So was all their furniture. Maria tugged my sleeve. "We got scared and packed up," she whispered. My heart broke. But then I had an idea. "Everyone," I shouted. "We need one more moving job tonight." 2 hours later, every neighbor had carried one piece of furniture back into the house. Mr. Chun brought the kitchen table. Old Man Jenkins carried Maria's bed. Even the teenagers helped, reassembling the dollhouse with duct tape and determination. By sunset, the house looked better than ever. Maria hugged her stuffed bear tight. "Does this mean we get to stay forever?" I knelt down to her level. "Something better." I handed her mom a new deed, this time with an unbreakable trust protecting the house. No one can ever take your home again. Maria threw her arms around me. Over her shoulder, I saw the neighborhood celebrating, not just for the Martinezes, but for themselves. They'd finally realized their real power wasn't in rules or money, but in standing together. And Karen, as her police car drove past the giant middle finger statue, I swear I saw it flip itself toward her. The neighborhood had just settled into peace when the bulldozers arrived at dawn. Not just 6 massive yellow machines lined up at our entrance like an invading army. A man in a hard hat handed me papers. Demolition order, approved by city council. Karen had somehow convinced the mayor our unpermitted structures were safety hazards. The statue? Illegal public art. The tree houses? Building code violations. Even the new community garden was suddenly unauthorized land use. I called my lawyer in a panic. She's using loopholes, he said. They can legally bulldoze everything by noon. Maria clutched my arm. They can't take our home again. Her tears hit the demolition notice, smearing Karen's signature. That's when I noticed something odd. The signature looked exactly like the forged judge's order from yesterday. A crazy idea hit me. Everyone, grab your phones and start filming, I shouted. Then I walked straight up to the lead bulldozer. Before you destroy our homes, I said loud enough for every camera to hear. Can you confirm this order is real? The foreman hesitated. Lady at City Hall said it was urgent. Which lady? I pressed. Karen Whitmore? The one arrested yesterday for fraud. His eyes widened. A quick phone call later, the truth came out. Karen had snuck into City Hall before her arrest, using her old HOA connections to fake the paperwork. The bulldozers rumbled away, their drivers apologizing. But our victory lasted exactly 37 minutes. At 8:17 a.m., a news van screeched into the neighborhood. Reporter Lisa Chow jumped out, mic ready. We're live investigating claims this billionaire is bullying longtime residents. Behind her, Karen's tearful face filled the TV screen. He stole my home and framed me, she sobbed. The neighbors gasped. My stomach dropped. Karen had turned this into a media circus, and she was winning. That's when 10-year-old Maria stepped in front of the cameras. That's not true. Her voice shook but stayed strong. She held up her broken dollhouse. Karen broke this when she pretended to be a cop. She's the bully. The reporter's smile faltered as more kids came forward. Timmy with his confiscated skateboard. The Johnson twins holding photos of their torn-down treehouse. The live feed cut to commercials suddenly. But the real twist came at noon. As Karen's interview played on every channel, a breaking news alert flashed. City Hall bribery scandal. HOA leader caught on tape. My lawyer had leaked Karen's own hidden camera footage, showing her bribing officials years ago to get HOA power. The mayor resigned by 12:30. By 1 p.m., the news stations were calling me for comment instead. Karen's final move? A desperate escape attempt. She was caught at the airport with $500,000 in cash and a one-way ticket to Belize. The footage of her being arrested again, this time in a ridiculous sun hat and oversized sunglasses, became our neighborhood's most watched video. That evening, we gathered around the middle finger statue with spray paint. Each family added their own touch hearts, names, even Mr. Chen's flamingos painted at the base. Maria climbed up to put the final touch, a shiny sheriff's badge on its tip. Now it's a hero, she declared. As the sun set, I realized something funny. That ugly truck Karen hated so much, it was still parked in my driveway, still rusty, still perfect. Some things, like good neighbors, only get better with time. The neighborhood was finally peaceful when the IRS showed up. Not for me, for everyone. Audit notices for all residents, the agent said, handing me a stack of envelopes. Random selection. But I knew better. Karen had one last trick from jail. She'd reported the whole block for suspicious financial activity. The Martinez family's new house? Money laundering. Mr. Chen's flamingo collection? Tax evasion. Even little Maria's lemonade stand got flagged as unreported income. I called my accountant. This will take months to fight, he groaned. They'll freeze assets, lien properties. That's when the water stopped working. And the electricity. And the Wi-Fi. Karen's brother worked for the utilities company. This was coordinated punishment. Old Mrs. O'Reilly started crying on her porch. "We can't fight City Hall forever," she whispered. But I had one card left to play, the nuclear option. At 3 a.m., I drove my rust bucket truck right through the HOA's gated entrance, which Karen had installed illegally last year. The security guard just waved me through. He hated Karen more than anyone. Inside the HOA office, I found what I needed. The original neighborhood blueprints. And there it was, clear as day. The public park Karen had built her mansion next to, actually common land belonging to all homeowners. I woke up every neighbor with air horns at dawn. "Meet me at City Hall in 1 hour," I shouted through a megaphone. "Bring hammers." The mayor nearly choked on his coffee when 200 residents stormed in waving property deeds. The news cameras ate it up. By lunchtime, we had a court order. Karen's mansion was officially our new community center. The bulldozers came back, but this time we operated them. As the first wall came down, we found Karen's secret panic room, stocked with stolen HOA files, $250,000 in cash, and weirdest of all, dozens of garden gnomes she'd confiscated over the years. Maria claimed one wearing a tiny HOA president vest as her new pet. "I'll name her Karen Jr.," she announced. The IRS dropped all audits by dinner. The utilities came back on with bonus-free upgrades. And Karen? She got transferred to a prison in Belize. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. As we roasted marshmallows over Karen's demolished marble fireplace that night, Mr. Chun handed me a beer. "So what's next, boss?" I looked around at the laughing faces. The Martinez kids doing cartwheels where Karen's dining room used to be, Mrs. Rodriguez teaching everyone to make empanadas in Karen's former kitchen. The middle finger statue now wearing Karen's old designer sun hat. The prison postcard arrived on Tuesday. Karen's messy handwriting screamed through the pink glitter Maria had dumped on it. "You'll regret this." I pinned it next to the others on our community fridge right between Timmy's spelling test and Mrs. Rodriguez's tamale recipe. "Oh, scary," Maria said, sticking her gum on Karen's angry face. "What's she gonna do? Fine us for bad handwriting?" We all laughed. But at 3 a.m., my phone blew up. The neighborhood group chat showed the same photo. Every front lawn vandalized with neon spray paint. HOA rules still apply, glowed under streetlights. Karen had hired goons from prison. I drove my truck through the chaos past Mr. Chen's flamingos beheaded, Old Man Jenkins' prized roses salted, the middle finger statue wearing a Karen wig. The worst, Maria's treehouse torched to ashes. That's when I snapped. Not the angry kind, the quiet kind, the kind that made my lawyer gulp when I called him. "Remember that abandoned asylum next town over?" I whispered. "Buy it. Tonight." By dawn, we had a new community project. Operation Ghost Karen. We turned the creepy asylum into the world's first haunted HOA experience. Every room featured Karen's greatest hits. The Karina Room. A strobe-lit maze of her 1,207 dumbest finds. Grass too green? $50. Clipboard chaos. Visitors chased by actors in Karen wigs screaming about violations. The final boss. A dunk tank where you could soak a Karen robot in her prison jumpsuit. The kicker? We made it educational. Every ticket funded scholarships for kids like Maria. Local news ate it up. From tyrant to terror, HOA Horror Show benefits community. Karen's final letter came via her lawyer. "Cease and desist using my likeness." I framed it next to the dunk tank. On opening night, the whole neighborhood gathered as Maria cut the ribbon. "Welcome," she announced, "to the only HOA that actually scares people." The crowd went wild. As fireworks exploded over the asylum-turned-theme park, I finally felt it real peace. Not because we'd won, but because we'd turned Karen's poison into something fun. Even the original middle finger statue seemed to smile in the flashing lights. Some battles leave everyone better. The demolition dust had barely settled when the first for sale signs appeared. Not in our neighborhood, in Karen's prison wing. Turns out the Belize facility was privately owned. by a shell company I'd quietly purchased. Maria spotted the listing first. "Does this mean we can redecorate her jail cell too?" she asked, waving the real estate brochure. The photo showed barbed wire fences under the headline, "Fixer-upper with built-in security." The neighborhood voted unanimously to buy it. We turned Karen's prison into the world's first HOA-themed resort. Her old cell became the rule break room, $5 to smash a clipboard with a sledgehammer. The exercise yard became a violation-free splash park. We even kept Karen's prison jumpsuit as a mascot costume. The irony was delicious. Karen's new warden? Former HOA board member Tom, who'd lost his retirement savings in her scams. Rule number 1, he announced on opening day. No complaining about the accommodations. But the real revenge came via certified mail. Karen received an official HOA notice in prison. Violation number 187. Excessive whining. Penalty: permanent ban from community pool. Attached photos of her former backyard now filled with laughing kids. Maria added the final touch: a glitter-bombed welcome to your new HOA card signed by every neighbor. The guard reported Karen screamed for 3 hours straight. Back home, we held the world's first un-HOA block party. No permits, no rules, just a giant slip-and-slide running straight through Karen's demolished mansion. As fireworks lit up the sky, Mr. Chun fired up the grill, right where Karen's prized chandelier used to hang. "Best view in the house," he said, flipping burgers as Maria cannonballed into a pool we'd installed in Karen's former walk-in closet. The local news called it the ultimate payback. Reddit made our middle finger statue a meme. Even the IRS sent a congratulatory letter and asked for resort season passes. As for my rusty truck, it got its own VIP parking spot, right where Karen's marble fountain once stood. Some things, like justice, only get better with age. The morning after Karen's sentencing, I woke to the sound of hammers. Not protest, progress. The entire neighborhood was already tearing down the HOA's old sign. Maria swung a sledgehammer twice her size, giggling as the letters crashed down. "New rule," she announced, panting. "No more boring signs." We replaced it with something better, a community bulletin board where anyone could pin ideas. The first note? Free lemonade at Maria's stand, even if it's messy. But Karen's ghost still haunted us. At noon, a black SUV rolled in. Out stepped a slick developer with a briefcase. "Mr. Vanderbilt," he smiled. "Let's discuss your unique situation." He spread blueprints across my truck's hood, luxury condos where our home stood. "We'll pay triple market value." His finger tapped Karen's old house. Starting here, the neighbors fell silent. Even Maria stopped chewing her gum. I let the tension build. Then ripe, I tore the plans in half. Counteroffer. I handed him a child's crayon drawing. Our block with a giant water park, labeled Splashville. No Karens allowed. The developer blinked. "This isn't profitable." Finished. "Correct." That's when the clapping started. Mr. Chin, Mrs. Rodriguez, the Johnsons, even Old Man Jenkins, who never applauded anything but football. The developer left, but not before Maria accidentally spilled slime on his Italian loafers. By sunset, we'd turned Karen's mansion into something useful. A community kitchen where Mrs. Rodriguez taught kids to make tamales, the scent of cumin and laughter replacing Karen's lavender disinfectant. As I parked my truck, now legally designated as a historical monument, Maria ran up, her hands sticky with paint. Almost forgot. She slapped a sign on the bumper. "This junk survived Karen. Housed 3 generations. Outlived the HOA. Respect your elders." The neighborhood potluck lasted till midnight. We ate off Karen's fine china, used her silverware to roast marshmallows, and told stories under stars we could finally see, because no one fined us for excessive outdoor lighting anymore. As the fire died down, Maria yawned against my shoulder. "What now?" I looked around, at the mismatched lawn chairs, the half-painted murals, the flamingos wearing tiny party hats. "Now," I said, "we live." The truck's headlights stayed on all night, not because we forgot, but because we could.